I asked ChatGPT if they could design 3 different versions of McDonald's for me. A retro version, a regular version, and a modern version. Why did I do that, you ask? So that we can recreate them in today's video. First of all, we have the Retro Mcdonalds, which I have to say might be my favourite out of the bunch. This is such a cool design. Here are the materials that I have chosen to build it. I do feel as though that a few of these could be swapped out for something else. So the mangrove could be swapped out for just like red concrete or red terracotta, and the birch could be swapped out for sandstone. But I would prefer to use 2 of the same kind of blocks, so I'd prefer to keep the woods together rather than use like concrete and sandstone or wood and sandstone. Step 1, let's start with the entrance. So the entrance I'm going to make 2 blocks wide, and we have some birch planks left and right, just like this, with some windows on top. So the frames are grey, which we'll use an andesite wall for, and the windows are just black, so black stained glass is the obvious choice. There are 2 windows either side of the door, and I think that they're going to be 2 rows high. I think that 3 might be too tall, but I actually have a little bit of a predicament already. It would seem as though these parts of the wall should include some mangrove in them, so like at the bottom and the top. But I think that the walls are going to be just way too big if we do that. So like they'll have to like to properly recreate them. They'll have to be like this high, right? So like if we like want to like 1 for 1 the reference image, it'll have to be like that to recreate it. Then that's absolutely absurd. So I think instead we're gonna go for this sort of scale, and I guess that we've just got to completely just throw the idea of like 100% copying the reference. I think that that's got to go out of the window. I think that we've got to take some creative license with it. This might be a compromise actually. Maybe some mangrove sides along the base? I don't know if I like this or not. We'll leave it on one side and off of the other, and we'll see if we like it as we progress. So, on top of the windows, we need to place some birch planks. That is 100% obvious, and we'll just seal up the doorway here. So, this is not looking too bad whatsoever. I've just realised we've run into a minor predicament. So there is a sign directly above the entrance, McDonald's, and there are 9 letters in McDonald's, but this is an even amount of blocks. Therefore, we can't make a sign that is nicely centred. However, there is an apostrophe in McDonald's which is 10 blocks, and that would mean McDonald apostrophe S. That's perfect. Okay, so we cheesed it a little bit, but I think that that's 100% valid. Just a cheeky little bit of thinking there, and now the sign just sits nicely. It actually kind of resembles the actual source image as well, which is perfect. I don't know whether this is going to have to stick out further actually. I think we've got to make the rest of the build first. So on the sides of the build here, it seems as though that we have kind of like the same window structure as on the front of the build. However, there are 3 windows rather than 2, but it seems to be the same width as the front of the build, so I think that I might actually just leave it there. So like, logically, there should be another set of windows, but it doesn't match the length. So unless we were to like do like this, like make 2 smaller windows, which actually kind of does look right now that I look at it. It seems as though that like the 2 back windows are actually a little bit smaller. So I guess we'll go with that. We'll see how that looks. And then we extend out a 1 row. We have some mangrove at the base of the build now. And let's just build up this wall a little bit and extend the birch planks over. And it seems as though when we get above this window line, we have some mangrove on top. And this is where the front of the build starts to get a little bit interesting. So here is where the building shape kind of like changes drastically. So we could use stairs for this. I don't think that that's a bad idea. And the stairs kind of clip into the sign nicely. Yeah, this is where like we start to get like the slope, the upside down pyramid stuck on top of the building. I think that this looks good, and this actually clips into the back of the building a little bit as well. It seems to overhang a bit. That does not look too bad whatsoever. And furthermore, I think that this has to even go one row higher. I don't think that this is going to look good. Okay, so let's add another row of stairs. This might look weird. This kind of looks weird because on top of this will have to be a row of mangrove. You know what? Let's add the bottom of the arch. So in this corner here will be a yellow concrete. And it kind of has to slope its way down to the ground, kind of like this. So it's actually like really, really straight. So maybe like this. I actually think that this is the move. There's also one back here as well. So this is kind of strange though. So it's kind of like on the third block in here. And then we have some yellow concrete extending up. So this one, it kind of like shows that it has a bend, but also simultaneously like hugs the wall at the same time, which doesn't really make sense. So we may have to alter it kind of like this, or maybe we will just have it flat to the wall. Regardless, we do have to add at the very least, I would say, 2 more rows of roof just extending around the back and joining all the way to the opposite side of the build now. We've kind of neglected this side of the build completely. You know what? This is not bad at all, actually. This doesn't look bad. We clearly have to extend the back out. At the very least, I'd say like 2 more rows, then we can just join across. I'm just going to make the actual top of the roof mangrove. It just seems to make sense. The same up here as well. So now I think that we've got to make the top of the arches. And I've got to think about how these would actually like logically like connect together, because I don't think that they really would, right? So like they've got to... Do you know what, guys? I think that actually looks pretty good. So if we just replicate this like 1 row into the roof, question mark? That does not look bad at all, actually. What if we make this straight? Like this first leg here, like... Oh no. Counter idea, what if we shift everything 1 row forwards? I think that looks a little bit better. Okay, I'm happy with that, I think. I'm going to apply this to this side as well. I suppose we don't need this block. You know, I think that actually looks pretty good. Let's leave it at that. I did realise I made a slight mistake back here though. So this should be birch. And then like this part of the roof has slabs like around the top of it. Or at the very least it has something that like sticks out around the top. And I think that slabs might be the perfect cure for that. So that definitely looks more accurate. I also think that I do like the mangrove signs around the base of the building. And now that I have more of it, I'm not sure that I like it. You know what? I'm actually going to come back to that later. So I'm just going to focus on the path that seems to lead all the way around McDonald's. So I'm just using smooth stone for this one. There are also some bushes quite clearly as well. So there's like just a single one here, and then there is just a bunch over here. So they actually seem to be planted kind of like this. And assumably they would go all the way to the back of the building. There's no real way of knowing here though. And you can just see some like poking out like here, but there's not really any more than that, I don't think. I think that I'm just going to shave off 1 layer of the bush on this side of the build here so that nothing is concealed. I think I'm also just going to bring the pathway just an additional row forwards like this. Now, the reason for this is because there is a standing sign in this corner, and if I left the path where it was, like the sign would have to go like here and it'd clip into the building. So I've just had to move that. And it says like McDonald's hamburgers over 50 million served, which is way too much text. So we're not going to include that. The sign seems to like be here. So we'll make it one row higher than the roof. We're not actually going to make like the hamburgers portion, but we will have the McDonald's. So McDonald's, right? Is that centered? That's gotta be taller. Okay. All right, we've got to make this... okay, I think that's actually... That's not too bad. So we can write McDonald's there, and then we have to actually like make the M. So we'll make this one row taller because the center part of the M is smaller. I'm finding it incredibly difficult to make this sign, guys, oddly enough. I think that's probably about as best as we can do. So now I've just got to make the letters in banners, which is fairly simple. I always find actually placing the banners immensely satisfying. I actually think this might look better if we remove these slabs underneath the sign here. Maybe an iron bar here for the door. You know what, guys? I don't think that is too bad. What do you reckon? Leave a comment. Next up, we have the significantly simpler regular McDonald's. I've picked out the basic set of materials here. I don't think we'll need too many more than these. The only two things that I'm kind of torn on are the red concrete versus red wool. The prompt has clearly used red wool, but red concrete will just look so much better. And the polished black stone wool could easily be swapped for, say, tough wool. So we'll see how these look. I'm going to start with the entrance again, and I'm going to try and be careful to make sure that we have enough width for the entrance so that we are able to place these signs. So we're going to go for the 10 block wide entrance. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We could do with 2 more. So we can actually achieve this by widening the windows on both sides. It's ever so slightly more accurate anyway, and then we can just raise these up. We will make the windows... I don't know whether to... No, I don't think that the frame across the top of the windows looks good. I think it's better to have glass and then have it just connect to whatever's above. Let's add a door handle here. There is clearly some sort of like grey concrete or something above the door, and in addition to that, there is a smooth stone slab overhang, and then here will also be the McDonald's logo, but that's actually going to be super tricky because of the odd number. I think I'm actually going to worry about the logo later. We also just have to build up the walls around this, and that smooth stone clearly has to extend an additional row further, but other than that, I think that this is looking pretty good. So somewhere here, I do believe it will be like right here actually, there is like a skirt of smooth quartz slab, or it actually regular quartz slab might be a better fit for this. We'll change that later. And then we have red concrete extending up on top of this, and there is a gap above the sign, but we'll see about this. And that should be 10 blocks wide. Let's just make sure. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's perfect. That completely accommodates the sign. And then on top of this, so either here, so we might just do it around the top of this. That might work out a little bit better. So it kind of depends on the scale. So this is quite wide, so maybe we will just place this on top. We'll have smooth stone slabs just all the way along the top of this. That's absolutely perfect. So it's looking a little bit wide, but we'll make the rest of the build first. What's funny is I actually just noticed the right side of the build and the left side of the build are different. So on this right side, the window kind of like extends out like this. So I'm assuming it just connects to here. So we'll just have a bit of glass. So we'll do 2 rows actually. So 2 rows, and then so window frame, and then we'll just assume that it kind of extends backwards in the same sort of amount, and then we'll have it just connect to the wall here. The wall seems to jut out kind of like this, but the window seems to connect to some sort of grey concrete. So roughly speaking, this is the shape, and it goes as high as the grey concrete that we just have on the inside of the build, so that's kind of congruent here. And then we can extend the frames up and fill these windows in using the glass pane. And then around this is the smooth quartz, and it just seems to extend like so. And I think it actually goes around the entire build, but it may be too much for it to extend out this far. With AI, you do have to kind of like make some choices by yourself, unfortunately. So, speaking of decisions, I think that the entrance area is simply too wide, and we are not going to be able to make the M. So I'm going to make the executive choice here to extend it in one entire row like this, which means that we do just have to alter the entrance a little bit. But there's actually an easy way that we can do this. We can remove the outer frames of these doors like this. We can shrink these windows a little bit just on both sides. Now, and then we can still have the door, which is perfectly fine, but it will look a little something like this. So it's ever so slightly different. You can see that the scale of that is just a little bit better. It doesn't quite work. And then here we might still have to extend this bit up an additional row just to kind of get the scale right. It still looks a little bit too blocky, but it is a bit better. And in addition to this, I think that we will just have to remove at the very least one row of that smooth quartz, just so that it doesn't look insane. We do also actually have to, I just caught this right now, we have to extend the grey concrete up an additional row here, and then there is some... Yeah, I'm certain that there's a smooth stone slab. So the smooth stone slab on top of this. And I also just realised it's kind of annoying when AI does this. So they've like made it so that the smooth quartz slab glides across the top of the red concrete here. But there's no way to emulate this in Minecraft. Like, even if we were to keep the smooth quartz slab on the outside, there's still no way to cover the top of this. And it's quite clear that the only other way to do it would be to place the smooth quartz slab one row higher or half a row higher, and that wouldn't be right either. I'm just going to re-add the smooth stone slab to the top of this. This will help with the height situation. It's still not perfect, but we will come back to it a little bit later on. But what I do want to do is kind of like figure out this left side a little bit. So the window structure is different. We have some grey concrete extending out here, some red concrete here. The windows are as high as the grey concrete on the inside, so they just kind of like extend across, and then we'll just fill this in. There's clearly some sort of frame for this window, but actually maybe we will like add the frame. So the frame is like in the middle, so we'll make this a little bit wider than I would make it, but this is a little bit more true to the actual build itself. And I suppose that it's we're letting ChatGPT figure this out, not necessarily me. I'm just kind of like I'm guiding them a little bit, but not. I guess I shouldn't completely just like remake it. Okay, that's not looking bad. Before we start adding any finer details, we are just going to make the rest of this side because we can still see some of it from the prompt. There is some red concrete here. There's no telling how much. Then there's some sort of gap. There's no telling how much. And then there's what we'll say is like an equal amount of red concrete. So this could be a window, or it could be a staff entrance, or anything. So we'll kind of leave this a little bit of a mystery for now. We'll just kind of get the wall shape locked in. And then we cannot see what happens to the rest of the build. So we're just going to build up the back, and I'll make it kind of similar to everything else. So let's just start with this wall. Let me see what I can come up with. So this is what I have so far, but I actually noticed on the prompt there is a road that comes up here. So maybe this is a drive-through, and maybe I should make one of those. I don't think that this is too bad, although maybe the drive-through window should actually like stick out an additional row further. That probably makes a little bit more sense so that it's a little bit more in line with the road. For the back of the build, I don't think that we're going to add many details back here. I might just add like a little window on the employee entry side, something like that, I think, and I'll just seal up the rest of this side. I actually decided to bring the grey concrete and the smooth stone slab in a little bit, and I would like to shape the side of this a little bit better. Maybe like remove a row here, add some more window frame, and maybe like remove a row here. Maybe like the back of the build can be a little bit flatter. Like if we just shift it in a row, that might be a little bit better, because meanwhile, we still have to place all of this smooth quartz slab. Like I believe that this still like continues all the way around the build. And maybe we can have something like this, so maybe we can have a little bit more grey concrete. Maybe this would look a little bit better, actually. So maybe the grey concrete can kind of just sit above here. Yeah, so okay. Then maybe that window that we were talking about, maybe just back here, just one, I think would look nice. Honestly, it might be that the drive-thru actually looks a little bit better, chunkier, so that it smooths off the building a little bit. I think that might be better, or just completely keep it, or just like condense it into the building like this. So I think it's one or the other. I actually like it a bit flatter like so. Honestly, I'm contemplating just extending this in too. Like, see, the prompt kind of shows that it's a little bit more 3D, but I'm not certain that it is really. Because we are kind of getting this with the window pane, but like if we were to like just extend the doors inward a row, then we would still get the alcove that we can like see. So we'd still get like this appearance like from this angle, and I think that might actually be it. Just gonna add a little smooth stone just around the build. There's also like a bunch of plants. So like these plants are clearly sat on some block that doesn't exist. But I think that the closest in kind of like colour and texture is the stripped birchwood. So there's like a planter here, just a regular bush here, and then kind of like it's diagonally here, like it's in a position that I don't think I can really place it here. And then there's one here too, and one here seemingly either here or on the back corner. I'll go for the back corner. I also have to extend the smooth stone slab out a row here, and we have to make a little McDonald's logo, which should be fairly simple. That is almost certainly too big, but also the McDonald's logo kind of like breaks into overhang as well. But meanwhile, we've got to write McDonald's here, and can we drop this down another row and have it still... It doesn't, you know what? That doesn't look bad at all. That's fine. And since we're in the habit of making signs, there is also like a standing sign all the way here, kind of like in this corner. It kind of clips against this. And there's a little bit of red concrete too. So kind of like this. I think it's like this wide-ish. And there's just an M on top of it. So whatever we did for that one, we will copy for this one too. Which I think is just like this. So we either have the... It kind of... It's not... Yeah, okay, so we're going to have that version here and that version here. I think that looks alright. I don't think we're going to add any more red concrete to that. I am contemplating using polished blackstone wall instead. It's kind of like one of those materials or one of those colours where it's either like a... It's either black or grey. It's like one of them. Like, you could actually go for either. That looks alright. I'm actually going to be a bit cheeky here and steal the McDonald's sign off of the previous McDonald's because it's literally the exact same. Alright, we're almost there, ladies and gentlemen, but I did realise that this needs to get extended back. I think I'll just turn it into a square and we will make the roof. As a matter of fact, I will seal up all of the roofs. And just like that, I think we're done. Honestly, ladies and gentlemen, I think that is pretty good, right? That doesn't look too bad at all. I actually kind of like this. Now, last but not least, we have to make the modern version of McDonald's. Let's shake things up a bit and start with the door. So, we're going to have a double wide door for this one, with an iron bar in the middle. Classic. And then we just have to extend the walls out a little bit. I'm using grey concrete for this, but honestly, I could easily also use cyan terracotta. I just think grey concrete's a bit of a better fit. The window frames, I'm now realising, are not polished tough wall. Let's try polished deep slate instead. That is not the right shade of grey. And we're just going for the... I always call it the 212 for some reason, like style of windows, which, yeah, that just looks nice. Across the top of these would technically, looking at this, be like part of the frame, but we're just going to use grey concrete across the top like this. And then in this corner should be, so right next to this is some spruce, which extends forwards. And it's definitely thicker than this, so we might have to turn this into like a full-on pillar. That doesn't look bad. I might have to extend this one row inwards. So what would look better, in my opinion, is this rather than this. But one of those is closer to the prompt than the other, so we'll just leave it like that for a second. But what we definitely have to do is let's make some of the side of the build. The side of the build is pretty much just more of the same window design that we have on the front. And a little bit of wood as well. That is not looking bad at all. And then a few rows of grey concrete at the back here. It's definitely a little bit longer than the spruce, but not much longer. And there will also be some smooth stone slabs across the top here as well, which is perfect. So it actually seems to go like across the top of the door. And it goes around here, which actually kind of... I think that we're going to do it. I think that we're going to shift this inwards, and then this can extend around, and it will look better this way rather than the way that we had it. That doesn't look bad. This actually looks a little bit too long, which is odd. We might have to make an executive decision and shift this one window up. Because it looks too long otherwise. Let's take a look. So that's the right scale versus that. I definitely think that the other way looks better. I don't think that we can even question it. I think this is the way. And stacked up on top of this is just a few rows of grey concrete. We have to leave enough room so that we can have the McDonald's logo. The logo is kind of like here-ish, but we're just going to have to shift this over. So it's probably about here now. And that looks okay. And then if we just throw another row of grey concrete on top, I think that that's perfect. And that does not look too bad at all, actually. I think that the next step is just to copy all of that onto this side of the build. There's no indication that it would be any different. It's actually hidden in the prompt, so I don't technically know what's here, so I'm just going to assume. Do you know what would be cool? That maybe you can even do, but I just don't know about it. Can you ask like ChatGPT or AI whatever to create like a 3D model? Because that would be awesome. That'd like be the next step of this, is like having them create like a 3D model that you could actually copy. That would be even better, because it'd be nice to actually like make all four sides of this build. I think that I'm going to extend the smooth stone slab one row forwards on the front of the build. I think that that's a little bit more accurate. And by the way, it doesn't seem to extend around to the actual back of the build. It actually seems to like be flush with the back wall. And speaking of the back wall, I guess we'll just make it grey, and we'll just make the roof grey as well. We also have some bushes scattered around the build, so we have like one here and a couple here, and that might be it. There might be one more. They're shown as being separate in the actual prompt, but here, obviously it's Minecraft, so you know. And then we have from like here to here up this side, and I just noticed there's one up the back as well, and then there's like here. So we'll just wrap it around here on this corner, and I did notice that there's like a little bush light just poking out there. I think that looks good. There is also a path that just leads around McDonald's, so we will make that as well. This is just, once again, smooth stone, and it seems as though that we basically just like leave one entire row of grass from around the entire build. However, on the front, it would seem as though that we do have like a double row of smooth stone. That looks pretty good. The handle should be on the other side though. I think that the last thing that we've got to do maybe is just to make the sign over here in this corner. So this is clearly like made out of the same material as the McDonald's itself. There's a little bit of spruce, and this is just like one row higher. I think it's actually on the front of the sign like this. And then we have to leave enough space, or we have to... So we'll have it like double-sided like this. We have to be able to make our giant M, and it is also meant to be so like, I think about this wide here, and we just have to make pretty much just this, so like, it's meant to be in the middle, but I don't know, we'll see. So like this? I don't want to make the rest of the sign wider, to be honest, because I think it's, so like if I do this, I think it will look crazy, like it will look too big. I mean, it might be in scale with the actual... What do we think? I guess that looks better, right? And then this here. I guess that looks more accurate, and it doesn't look... I thought it'd look too big, I'll be honest, so we'll just shift the upper row, and then we'll do the same thing on the back too. So we'll just make this solid, and there we go. Let's take a look at both sides. I think that's in scale. That's not bad. I think it would look better to add another row of the spruce. Maybe to make it as wide as the sign above as well, as it seems to be in the reference. There we go, guys. I think that we've pretty much completed this. The only thing that I wish I could do is write McDonald's on the spruce wood of the sign, but we need to add 2 additional rows, and then it'd be too huge. So unfortunately we have to compromise, but I think that's pretty accurate. It's actually a nice looking McDonald's. Also, which is your favorite of these 3 builds? The Retro Mcdonald's? The regular McDonald's? Or the Modern McDonalds? Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.